Everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today we're going to be talking about specifically why ADHD is more than just a dopamine problem. Yes, obviously, dopamine is a big issue with ADHD, but it is more complex than just thinking it being dopamine. So let me explain why. The very first thing that we need to consider when we are thinking about ADHD is first, how is dopamine and a lot of these different neurotransmitters made? Well, if we look at the gut, 90, if I can actually get my pen out, there we go. 90 to 95% of a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. That's a lot. And about 50% or more of dopamine is made in the gut. That's pretty significant. So if you have some gut issues, you better believe that it's going to impact a lot of your different neurotransmitters. And so when we look at the gut flora, gut bacteria, the good, bad, we want to make sure to address that and make sure that's not an issue. The other thing that we also need to consider is when it comes to really the breakdown of the gut lining, which you can kind of see right here, and you can see how these little octagons represents L-DOPA, and then you got your triangles here that represents dopamine. And so L-DOPA actually makes dopamine, builds and makes dopamine. And you see this happens in the gut lining, the small intestine. And that's why the gut is so important. So if you have gut issues like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, gas and bloating, you're constipated, any kind of gut issues, you better believe that your dopamine production is probably not as efficient as you would like to see it. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat. The other thing that we have to also look at is other things, other organs that can contribute to your ADHD symptoms. Okay. It isn't just always dopamine that we need to be concerned about. It's other organs that can contribute in the same kind of similar symptoms. So the liver is a very important organ for both detoxification. So everything gets filtered through the liver. It's also very important for processing for gluconeogenesis. So our glucose, for building and breaking it down, and for our body to utilize it for energy. It's also very important for processing a lot of different hormones, especially thyroid hormones, and many of our other hormones that are very important for the ways that we feel, our mood, our energy. So if your liver is backed up and not so happy, let me use a different color here. Maybe this light blue. It's sad. Okay. It's not very happy because over time, the liver gets taxed. There's just too much that it has to handle. And over time of eating crappy, not even taking lots of different medications, over time, the liver can really not be working optimally like it should. And when that happens, it can cause things such as like brain fog, focus issues, fatigue, irritability. I mean, number of different things. So it's always important to look at the liver, see how well is it functioning, how well it's properly doing what it needs to be doing. And then going still with the digestive system, looking at the pancreas. Now, the pancreas is very important because it produces our macro enzymes and many other things. Produces insulin, that has a lot to regulate with our blood sugar. Okay. But things such as like helping breaking down our fats, our proteins, and our carbs. And if the pancreas is not working properly and producing those enzymes that it needs to, it's going to make it very difficult for not only feeding the body, but also for the brain. And what we need to constantly have that energy and that focus throughout the day. So that's another thing that we need to look at. And sometimes that is an issue, can present with similar ADHD symptoms of fatigue, focus issues. I mean, you name it, right? So we can't just think it's just dopamine is the only issue here, but there's several other organs we need to be looking at. But also hormones. Hormones is a huge one. So, if we just think about just our reproductive organs, looking at testosterone, looking at progesterone, estradiol, DHEA are some of the big main ones here that when we're looking at these specific things and looking at tests, if they are deficient or elevated, you better believe it will cause things of mood instability, irritability, fatigue, brain fog, focus issues, motivation, drive, all those things that we can experience with having ADHD. So what if you do have some imbalances going in these specific hormones and never had them looked at? Well, there could be an issue there. And I see that a lot, especially with adults with ADHD, when we're looking at this, is there could be an actual issue going on here. And we have to address it. But that's not all. There's other hormones we have to look at. And a big one, especially for women, is the thyroid. Thyroid, especially, it does so much for thyroid hormones. So especially when we're looking at like TSH, free T3, free T4, and even our anti-TPO levels. These are like some, if you're ever concerned about your thyroid, these are the things that you should actually get tested to really rule in and rule out if you have a thyroid issue. Now, why is the thyroid so important when it comes to ADHD? Because if you do have a thyroid issue, whether it's hypo or hyper situation, you're going to also experience brain fog, irritability, fatigue, high anxiety. You can have heart palpitations, which a lot of people with ADHD, when their doctor tells them, you shouldn't probably take this medication, because you're to have too high of a heart rate. And maybe it's because there also could be a thyroid issue going on and it should be addressed. And so it does present with very similar symptoms as ADHD, but maybe it's been overlooked. And I see this happen time and time again, is when someone, might just get diagnosed with ADHD, but they never got addressed with their thyroid or hormones or other things that could be causing the ADHD symptoms to be worse. Or in some cases, it maybe wasn't an ADHD diagnosis to begin with, but it actually was a thyroid issue or it was a hormone issue, right? Because it presents very similarly. So that's definitely something you have to really kind of consider, especially when you want to kind of reduce a lot of your ADHD symptoms. You got to look at all the possibilities. Look at the body as a whole as a possibility that could be contributing to your ADHD. But another hormone that's really important that I see very common, especially adults with ADHD, is looking at the adrenals, which sit right above the kidneys. And the biggest one that we're looking at here is looking at cortisol. Cortisol has everything to do with pretty much getting us up in the morning. It gets us to have energy throughout the day, but it also could spike. It could be too high where we feel more agitated, irritated, irritable, angry with our partner, angry with our boss, whatever. And it also can impact our sleep. So if it impacts our sleep, it's also going to, where we didn't get a good night's sleep, therefore it's going to make it where we don't have focus throughout the day. We don't have energy throughout the day. It makes our ADHD symptoms even being worse. So that's why it's really good to look at how well is the adrenals functioning. So, there's a condition, what we call is adrenal, insufficiency syndrome, where it's not producing enough cortisol. And so that can be an issue. They're also looking at epinephrine and norepinephrine are things that we also have to consider too when it comes to the adrenals, and also different neurotransmitters. And those are very important when it comes to ADHD, especially norepinephrine. You probably have heard that you probably had a dopamine and also a norepinephrine problem. And so you take Adderall or Ritalin that helps improve and increase that. But what if it had nothing to do with neurotransmitters, but it also had to do with the adrenals or other hormones that contribute to also epinephrine and norepinephrine? So we have to look at all the hormones and also the neurotransmitters. So two different things, but can present very similar with the same kind of similar ADHD symptoms that you're experiencing. So this is a very big one. And then, kind of going back to what I was talking about, looking at this whole thing, is that you have to investigate. You can't just try random supplements or try different diets to hope for the best that it's going to solve all your ADHD problems. You got to do lab work to see, okay, do we have an adrenal problem? Do we have a thyroid problem? Do we have other hormones that are an issue? Do we have a pancreas issue? Do we have a liver issue? Do we have a digestive issue? Do we have an allergy issue? There could be so many different things that could be contributing to these symptoms that we need to understand. Okay, what else could be an issue for me specifically of my own imbalances in my body chemistry? And so we got to do lab work to really understand, to do further investigation, right? It's very, very important. And so when we look at lab work, one of the things that people think when it is just a dopamine problem, it isn't always the case. In fact, sometimes, like with this patient I had, is that their dopamine levels were actually elevated. And so what kind of symptoms does that present when it's elevated? Well, when you have too high levels of dopamine, you're going to feel agitated, irritated, high stress, have high heart, you'll possibly have heart palpitations, and that is very dangerous. And when you're adding a medication like this patient was, he felt all of those symptoms. And that's why the medication was not the best solution for that person. And so we had to adjust this and adding the right type of supplementation because we did this investigative work and we understood what were those imbalances were. And so hopefully this helps you understand that. Like, let me know in the chat, like, does this make sense for you? Do you understand now what you need to be doing when it comes to your ADHD and doing the investigative work and not just thinking it's just a dopamine problem, but there's other problems you need to be looking at. So let me know in the chat because I think that's really important to understand. So, hopefully this makes sense to you because it does require further investigative work. And so if you'd like, to get same results that we do help with our patients and clients, doing the investigative work and getting those results and outcomes just like our patients do, then, I'd love to help you out because, doing this alone, it isn't easy. Trying to figure this out your own makes it very difficult to understand really what are the ins and outs of your own body chemistry with your ADHD. And so here's why I really say this, because you need to find the actual source of your body chemistry imbalances. It can't be just from one ADHD person to the next. Not one ADHD person is the same as the other person. The human body is very complex. So we have to understand, okay, what do you need specifically that needs to be addressed? You also need something that's more customized specifically for you so we can bring the body chemistry back to balance, so the body can heal itself and eliminate a lot of those ADHD symptoms. You also need someone who is going to actually hold you accountable to follow through and analyze and adjust the treatment plan along the way so it fits with your lifestyle so you can be consistent with it and get the consistent results. And so here's exactly how I can help you out. So my health experts have set us, aside a time to speak with you personally to help you actually start getting results right away. And so it's called the Focus Mindset Strategy Session. And so on this Focus Mindset Strategy Session, we'll put together a specific plan for your situation to help you have a better focus so that you can actually excel in life. And then, here's exactly how we'll do this. We'll together. So first off, we'll uncover what's behind your ADHD symptoms. What are behind your specific ADHD symptoms? Not just general ADHD symptoms, but yours specifically. And it's definitely your blind spot. It's something you probably most likely don't know what it is. And it's probably something you've never been told because you've only been told, like, take this medication or maybe do CBT, but never looked at your body as a whole that could be contributing to your ADHD and what are the imbalances that are going on there. And so then, we'll customize a plan of action that will get you unstuck. And then finally, we'll determine if it makes sense, for us to work together in a more closely. So here's exactly what you get with the Focus Mindset Strategy Session. It's with one of my health experts. And so what it includes is a 45-minute one-on-one strategy session. That's a $750 value. And then when you do purchase a consultation, what you also get included as a bonus, you get access to our nutrition and lifestyle tracking app. This is something we use with all our patients and clients to track their symptoms. It'll track their sleep, track their heart rate, track their blood sugar levels, track their food and nutrients to implement to be able to establish good habits. So it's something that we use, and that's a $300 value. And also, if you do purchase today, you get a bonus access to my ADHD health course. And that's a $597 value to be able to implement the right lifestyle things to be able to help optimize your ADHD brain. And then, so everything that you get is the 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session with one of my health experts, and then also access to the nutritional lifestyle tracking app, and then also bonus access to my ADHD health course for a total value of $1,647. So you get that all today for just $297. So all you got to do is click on the link in the description below. Once you have clicked the link in the description below, it will take you to this page. You'll fill out, you'll purchase. Once you purchase, is very important. I have to stress this. Once you have purchased, you still have to book your time. You still got to book your appointment. So you're going to hit book now. You'll pick your date and time that works best for you. You'll fill out your information, fill out the entire form because we need that. It's a very thorough form that we need to understand the ins and outs of your challenges with your medical history and everything with your ADHD. So that way we'll be able to have this session be very effective for you. And then you will come to this landing page. So it's very important to check your email to make sure you got your confirmation appointment once you have scheduled that. Also, you should get another email to activate your Practice Better account. This is the online client portal. This is where you get access to the nutrition lifestyle tracking app. Also, to be able to fill out the questionnaire if you have not already. And then, of course, upload your labs in the past year if you have any standard labs. It's not a requirement. It's just any standard labs that you've had done with your doctors. You can go ahead and upload those because that could be helpful as well based off your medical history. And then block out 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes we go a full hour if we need to. And then please do show up early. We do require that you do show up on time. We give people a 10-minute grace period. Otherwise, we have to mark it as a no-show. So please do show up on time. Also, if you do have a significant other or spouse, please have them present there. So when you're picking your date and time, please have them present there because it's very important for us to understand the outside perspective of your challenges that your significant other or spouse might know. That helps us kind of help out, understand putting an action plan together. So please have them present. So if you are really wanting to tackle your ADHD and eliminate your ADHD symptoms and have that focused mind, then go ahead and book that consultation in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.